Togo, what makes Robert Dussey run? Another fun trip in South Korea when the people lose interest in politics. Dictatorship is not far away. Alexis De Tocqueville, French judge, writer and historian, born 1805 and died 1859. We're learning that Togo's foreign minister, Professor Robert Dussey, visited South Korea at the end of last week. Looks like a business visit. We allow ourselves to ask ourselves a few questions, as much as the multiplicity of the foreign minister's trips to a country like Togo, which has been ill on all levels for decades, is thought-provoking. Because, if from Eyadéma Gnassingbé to his son Faure, all the political problems, created by their care, such as confiscation of power by force, massive violations of human rights, massive embezzlement of public funds and impunity, have not been able to be solved, it is not these movements very costly for public treasury, which will solve the great challenges facing our country. So what makes our eminent professor run? Has he finished working in Togo for the betterment of living conditions of his citizens, the majority of whom, for decades, have been pulling the devil by the tail? Has he mostly finished suggesting to his mentor, Faure Gnassingbé, to put water in his wine, accepting the necessary political reforms for our country to start on new grounds for the benefit of all Togolese? As the de facto foreign minister of Togo, Professor has Robert Dussey, theoretically responsible for the Togolese diaspora around the world, finished making efforts to bring his government colleagues, especially Faure Gnassingbé, to consider the point of view of this diaspora, to especially stop the persecution of its members who return to the country. For example, Jean-Paul Omalau, an opponent of the regime, who returned from Switzerland, was kidnapped on the 4th of November 2021 and has since been crumpled in the premises of the infamous CRIC, Central Research and Criminal Investigation Service. Alpha Ibrahim, a Togolese from the German diaspora, sympathizer of the PNP, Pan-African National Party, also returned to the country, also kidnapped on the 27th of January, 2022 and thrown into prison without any other form of trial, leaving alone in Lomé his 4-year-old boy with whom he had travelled. What did Robert Dussey do for their release, and for all the many political prisoners including a nursing woman separated from her baby? It is not headless or tailless trips, and in addition, expensive, around the world, that allow a Togolese minister to lead the good life abroad, which make a good servant of the people. The Togolese today need politicians who deal with the real problems that lie on the way to freedom, democracy and prosperity. Togolese and Togolese women have been kept for decades in the most abject poverty by the fault of a government that, precisely, does not take into account the fate of the large number. In these conditions, where inside the country everything is politically and socially upside down, for what reasons can a Minister of Foreign Affairs treat himself to play globetrotter? Apart from his supposed working visit, it also seems that his trip will include strengthening cooperation and development. These words cooperation and development have been thrown in our faces for decades, without the Togolese population actually reaping the fruits. But in order to cut back on speculation and avoid criticism, Robert Dussey wanted to acknowledge the real reasons behind his expensive trip to South Korea. It was all for fun and for his own pleasure. On his tweet, the professor drops the track, "I was honored with my decoration by Grandmaster Lee Dong-up. Martial arts has contributed a lot in shaping me to be in the service of peace. Thanks to all my teachers." What does a private decoration, during an official trip, of the foreign minister, have to do with cooperation and development? Martial arts would have trained him, on his own terms, to serve peace. Can the Minister of Foreign Affairs, foreign to the great political problems of Togolese, tell us what peace he is talking about? Wouldn't it be better if he told us that martial arts helped forge him to serve the dangerous mafia that runs Togo? Poor Togolese, they will have seen in all colours. Chijobo Youth Germany.